There's a few things that I'd like to clear up as a misconception that I think a lot of people may or may not have about YouTube content and the efficacy of what it takes to actually create watchable content on YouTube. And it all stems from the idea that maybe there is a chance that creating content based off gameplay is not exactly the content most people want to watch. I'm just saying that the entire gaming space is oversaturated with a ton of different people trying to do the exact same thing based off what one person has done, and it doesn't seem as if there's any chance in the gaming space to really create something new. Now, that doesn't have to be the case because I think there's a lot of potential to do something different, but it all from the person to create something that's creative. And seeing that there's a lot of people out there who try to do the same thing as someone else and then they don't get any views is because they didn't do anything creative. They just didn't. And one of those things that I noticed is that when I try and do something creative, like let's say this website or let's say this YouTube channel or Twitch or whatever, whenever I try and do something that's different and creative, it doesn't seem to get traction. But I still do it anyway because I'm enjoying it, and I think that's all that matters when it comes to the YouTube journey. It kind of makes sense though, because when you're trying to be different and you're trying to gain attraction or a user base or whatever you may have, it takes time. And one of those things that happens when it takes time to do something is you feel a little bit of burnout. And burnout is one of those things where you just don't have it in you to get up the next day and do another video or do something different or try and think of something different to do. It's very it's very it's very taxing. But here's the thing though. When you do something different, a lot of people it really only takes one person to view your thing and then go like, "Huh, that guy did something different." And that's kind of cool. See, when I try to do something different, it's not because I'm trying to do something that's creative or trying to gain a viewership. It's mostly because I want to try something new for myself and experience something different. Because I'm not going to lie, gaming sometimes does get boring. It's the same mechanics, the same uh, routine, it's the same game but rehashed in a different way. It's never something that I really enjoy. And one of the things that I'd like to contribute to is maybe you know, help people figure out what makes gaming fun. And what can be fun for some people is not the same for others. It, when you have an educated background in gaming or game design or game development or whatnot, it really substantiates down to a basic fundamental value that you can tell when a developer has been lazy, or you can tell when a developer has been um, putting in the minimal effort but somehow managed to get a following. And it doesn't apply to all games. There are some games out there that are very, very, very fun to play, right? And I think that's one of those things where you look into what you look into what the person's created and you kind of just go, "Hey, this is different and I really like it." And I think that applies to a couple of things right now. Currently today at April 1st, 2026. April Fools. But I think what it boils down to is the innate ability to create something from scratch. And I don't think a lot of people have the ability to, because it takes a level of creativity that some people just don't have, because everything has, not everything, but for the most part most things have been done. And I'm kind of just waiting to see who's the next game developer or gaming influencer or whoever will come in and start their own deal and do something completely different, something that hasn't been done before. And I think that's what we're all waiting for. Now, this ties into a new game coming out coming out in November called GTA 6. And GTA 6 is supposed to be extremely detailed, supposed to be very fun. Um, I heard that voice changing voice not voice changing, sorry, voice actors, they recorded so many lines that interactions with NPCs are in, in they're over, it's overdeveloped. So I'm wondering that if with this release that there is such a thing as overdeveloping a game. But I think the level of detail that it comes down to is whether or not people want to play games that are, I guess, more intrinsic, more complicated, in more developed than normal, you know? And I think that comes to a point where people think, "Oh, well, gaming doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be something substantial where what I do contributes to something else." And we don't have games like that. We don't if you play Borderlands 1, you aren't contributing to Borderlands 2. Sure, you understand the story and the routine and whatever, and you go into the next game with that knowledge, but you don't contribute from your progress of Borderlands 1 into Borderlands 2. So let me explain a little bit deeper. So when you are in GTA Online, let's say for Grand Theft Auto 5, you go in and you get your cars, you get your money, you get your oppressor, you get like millions of dollars or whatever, and you go into GTA 6. The idea of your progress transferring from GTA 5 to GTA 6 should make sense, right? Like, I feel, not I feel really, but it makes perfect sense for a game to be continuous. When you build upon a previous title, your progress should transition from that title to the next title. Because I don't think a lot of people really enjoy the burnout. Because burnout is one of those things where you go into a game not really knowing what you're doing, and you make a little bit of progress, and then the game or the game developer releases a new title for that game, and it's the same thing rehashed, but you're starting from zero yet again. I think a lot of people are just at the point with it where, well, if my progress doesn't matter, why the hell should I play? Pardon my language, but that makes perfect sense for me to come to as a logical conclusion. Now, I think a lot of people want to have a unique experience, but if games don't have a progress based continuancy, it doesn't necessarily mean that the game's going to be playable. You know what I mean? Uh, I think when it comes to playability, things should continuously be adapted and built upon. It shouldn't be a continuous regurgitation of the same product in a different way, because clearly a different way of doing the same thing doesn't work. We've seen that with Call of Duty, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that they are done with starting from scratch. Now, I had to start from scratch with the website, because starting from scratch with the website started a lot of traction for me. It helped me reinvigorate or reimagine what it could be. And with that being said, it kind of just makes the experience for me, at least when I use my website, I use it pretty much all the time because it's a lot of fun. But with me, I really enjoy the idea of progress that continues. So the idea of interacting with a person on a forum should contribute to an in-game thing. So I propose an idea. What if social media plays into a tie-in of a game? I think a lot of people would be appreciative of that, because when, let's say, you gain a following on like Facebook, the idea of Facebook connecting with a video game, and then your stats of all your followers who play the game translates into the followers you have on GTA or whatever game you want to call it. That would be a modern equivalent of a unique idea. It's something that hasn't been done before, but I think it could be done. You know, if all the technologies were somehow interlaced, I think a lot of not all technology. God, if that was the case, that'd be terrible. But if all the different technologies somehow talked to each other and coalesced and completely came together to create a unique experience in a video game, I think you would see a lot more usability of the game. That's the best way I could put it. Is you would see a lot of people actually getting interested in video games again. Not again, but just in general. Because now their stuff, whatever they've earned, let's say Xbox currency, right? Gamer score. What if your gamer score translates to an in game currency in GTA? That would be fantastic. If I could spend my gamer score that I've earned in Xbox and use it as a way to purchase things instead of these reward points you get from purchases, I think that would be interesting. Like, oh, you have a gamer score of 50K. You now get a 10% discount store wide permanently. You know what I mean? Something that translates into a unique idea where that would happen. And I it makes perfect sense for people to have this, respect for a video game because of it. It makes perfect sense for people to think, oh well, if my progress makes no difference on my gameplay, why should I make progress? And I think that's what people are looking into right now, and that's kind of what really matters. Is progress shouldn't be for the sake of progress. Progress should be meaningful, and if there's no meaning to the progress, what's the point instead of a flex? There needs to be a continuancy of the progression of what you're doing for it to contribute in game. So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Let's see what you guys think. Later.